Hi everyone, this is Grace of GB Maltese, and I thought I'm going to do another whip and chat because I'm on the AB portion of my deer. That's all that's left, and I want you to look at the ABs. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh, they're so pretty. Look at that sparkle. Wow. I must say, I have loved working on this Diamond Dots square. Isn't it adorable? All I have are these AB sections left to do, and I thought I'll do a little chit-chatting with you as I do this, since several of you said you like to hear me yammer on, I guess you might say. Okay, let me get you where you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Well, the other day, I was talking with you and told you a bit about when I was teaching school and all that kind of thing. And I was thinking about some other things that when my daughter was in school. And see if some of you might have had some of these things happen with any teachers your child has had in the past. These are a couple of different situations, and I was thinking about them today. And of course, this is a long time ago. My daughter is an adult now. This was when she was in second grade, and she had a teacher that everyone had said how wonderful she is. She's just amazing and all this kind of stuff. Well, I came to think differently. I had a different thoughts on her. Just from, everyone has their own personal experiences, but a lot of other teachers thought she was good and all this, and maybe she was to some people. I think she's one of those teachers that have pets. You've heard of teachers' pets. Well, that's something I didn't do when I was teaching. That's just wrong. You should not have somebody in your classroom that you should be fair to everybody. Well, they were going to have a pizza party, and she let the kids choose what kind of pizza they were going to get, and she was going to order the pizzas, which is, fantastic. So she gets the pizza. She's passed out most of the slices, from what I understand. I was not there, but I did talk to her later, found out some more about it. And anyway, my daughter comes home crying, and the teacher knew she was going to, and she called me to let me know about what had happened. She told me that she had run out of the pizza that my daughter had chosen to have, for this party. So she said that, my daughter's name is Catherine. She said that Catherine, we call her Cat for short, that she just started crying and saying, put her head down, and she said she didn't want it and wasn't going to eat it and all that kind of stuff. Well, maybe I don't know. I think she'd wanted just plain cheese pizza, and she got some pepperoni. I'm not sure how the teacher handled it with my daughter, because she could have actually taken the pepperoni off of the pizza before she handed it to her, or whatever. I don't know. But she said that my child threw a fit, basically, and she was just all upset and all of this kind of happy horse poop, for lack of a better word. So she called me to let me know about these things. And I had been teaching, I think this is maybe her second or 3rd year teaching. I'm really not sure. She hadn't been teaching as long as I had been teaching. And I told her, I said, because Catherine had gotten home by that time, and she told me about it, and I said, I'm sorry. What are you going to do? But I said, just for advice in the future, because I've had pizza parties in my classroom, and I never had anybody crying or upset, because you have to make sure if you're going to be able to deliver. But what I told her is the best thing for you to do the next time you do something like this is maybe have just one type of pizza. Ask the kids what their favorite is, or 2 different types. And make sure you order enough. I mean, if she took votes and asked people what they wanted, she needed to have known how many pizzas she wanted. Believe me, I've done lots of different parties in my classrooms over the years. And I always made sure everyone got what it was that they wanted. Excuse me. Going to have a drainage day, it looks like. Wow. So, she was very upset with my child she said the way she acted was wrong, and I can't remember her exact words. And I said, well, if you're going to tell someone you're going to give them something, you need to be able to deliver it. Either you should have offered just 1 or 2 types of pizza. Okay, Bogey, you want out? Bogey hears something somewhere. He's got to get out. But she's a 2nd grader. And my daughter also was very young. Her birthday was in August. So she was one of the younger ones in the class, because I didn't hold her back in kindergarten. She would have known way too much if I'd held her back. So she was very young. I think 2nd grade. And you're all excited about this pizza party, and the teachers passing everyone out their slices of pizza. And from the way it sounded like Catherine was probably the only one who didn't get what she wanted, which I find rather strange. But I wasn't ugly to the teacher, and I did not get onto my daughter about it. I did tell her, I said, well, Catherine, maybe the next time something like that happens, you could pull the pepperoni off or whatever. But the fact of the matter was, she, as a teacher, you have to be careful what you're going to tell people. If you can't deliver it, don't say you're going to do it. But that's basically things that I have figured out teaching school. If you can't do what you say you're going to do, don't ever tell people you're going to do it. I mean, as adults, we should have more sense than a child that is like 6 years old. Anyway, I just was remembering that and thinking, that was just ridiculous how she handled that whole situation. I don't know why that one came up, but I was thinking about when I was talking about teachers, and some teachers are just born with empathy and can feel for the students. I don't think this teacher had a child at that time. That does make a difference for some teachers, not all now. I have seen teachers who don't have any children who do a beautiful job. They are so good with the kids. But I thought that was a little bit a little bit too much right there for her. It almost felt like she was singling her out. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't there, but for the teacher to have called me to let me know that it must have been pretty bad. She must have been pretty, I would think maybe she was upset herself as to what happened to my daughter. But she basically was telling me that Catherine needed to learn how to handle that kind of situation or whatever. And like I said, I wasn't ugly or anything, but I did say, when you're going to have something like that and you're not sure that you can deliver on what you said, you need to change. You need to change plan up a little bit. Even when I was teaching junior high, my kids loved to have hot chip parties. And I would bring hot chips, and I would also bring some drinks. I let them choose the kind of drinks that they wanted. Sometimes we would bring punch. Other times they would choose 7-Up, or I did not get things with caffeine. I didn't want to have hot, sugar rushes be enough, but with the chips it wouldn't be quite as much sugar as if we were having candy or cupcakes or whatever. But at that age, they loved having hot chips. That was their thing. They loved having those. And I also brought regular chips. I let them choose, and we'd take a vote, and I would write down how many people voted for whichever chip it was they wanted. And when I would go to purchase the bags, I had that with me, so I knew exactly how many packages of things I would need to make sure I had enough. I always had more than enough. I didn't want anyone disappointed. And my kids love the manzanita drinks. It's an apple drink, and you buy it at HEB. But they liked hot Cheetos and things like that. And I don't know, some people say now that they're bad for you. I don't know, but back then, that wasn't a problem. And nobody ever got sick. I didn't just gorge on stuff. But when I'd give them a choice of a popcorn party or a chip party, it was usually chips. Now, and sometimes they wanted Doritos, but just whatever they wanted. And they had to earn these parties. They would have done something as a class to earn the party, and we would watch a movie. And we'd do it maybe like once a 6 weeks or whatever. Or 9 weeks. They started going by grade periods of 9 weeks instead of 6 weeks. So anyway, that just really burnt my butt, you might say, to have this teacher call and tell me that my child, she shouldn't have done this and shouldn't. I'm like, okay, she's a kid, and maybe she shouldn't have, and I'll talk to her about that kind of thing and what some other choices she had. But I'm wondering how she talked to Catherine when it happened. We all know things happen that can be out of our control, but if that shouldn't have been out of her control, I'm sorry. I taught 34 years, and if I promised my kids we were going to have something, we had it. And I made sure to have what it was that they chose. That's important. They've worked for these parties. Okay, another thing that happened, this is when she was in high school. And my daughter is very smart. She's a very, very smart young lady. A lot smarter than I am. She could talk circles around me. She was on the debate team. She's really good at it. Anyway, this was in her Spanish class, and Catherine always had good grades in school. She just did. She was very conscientious, and I didn't go putting a lot of pressure on her. It was something that was kind of built into her, you know. So she always did well. And she came home one day. She was pretty upset because she said that the teacher had taken her paper and another student's paper. This was another student who always did well in class. And I'm not sure what happened. Anyway, Catherine and this other person, they didn't score very well on that paper. And this teacher holds the paper up in front of the class. Okay, here she is up in front of the class, this paper. Now look what they did here, 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 here. And she said, I'm not going to tell you what their names are, and she wasn't showing their names. And, you know, that would have been fine and well and good. But after she got finished doing all that, she handed the paper back to Catherine, and she handed the other one back to the other girl. Duh. So, do you think that maybe everybody in the classroom knew whose paper it was? I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm the kind of person, I'm going to go and say something. That's just me. I went to her, and I never get ugly and upset with them. I just talked calmly, and I just told her how it made her feel. Because sometimes people don't think about maybe what they're doing and how it might make that person feel. Well, if you think about for your own self, and you think, now would I want someone to do that with my stuff? You know, you can figure that out. She said, well, I didn't tell whose paper it was. And I said, no, but you handed it back to them. So, of course, everybody in the room knew who it belonged to. And she apologized, and she said, oh. And, you know, we got along just fine. There were no more problems. But I just felt like she needed to think about what she had done. And not saying that I'm perfect. Oh, by no means, no. And if I had done something, I would definitely want someone to point that out to me. But that is a big no-no, to go around and showing someone's paper that didn't do well on it and let everybody in the class know who it belonged to. No. No, 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 no. Now, if there had been someone in the classroom that had done really great job on the paper, especially someone that maybe doesn't always do real well on the paper, and usually it's a good idea to ask the student first. Is it okay if I show your paper? You did such a good job on it. And most of the time they're like, yeah, you know, high school can be different. So that's why I'm saying you might want to check first. And junior high, same way. But normally, they don't mind because they're showing something that they did well. And maybe they don't ever get praise for anything else they've ever done in school, for anything else they've ever done in class. So, I don't know. That was just going through my mind today. And I thought, I'm going to get on and talk about that while I put my ABs down. Look how sparkly these are. Oh my gosh. Look at the sparkle. Oh my goodness. That's beautiful. Just beautiful. Now, did she have some fantastic teachers in school? Oh, yes, she did. She had some that were her favorites. And some of her favorites were teachers that were hard on the kids. She appreciated knowing what was expected of her in class. And most kids do. If you let them know what you expect from them, then there are no surprises. You need to let them know, you know, this is how things are done in my class, and blah, 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 so on. But she had some teachers that were really tough on them. She had one teacher she adored, and he was more laid back. He was a history teacher, but he would sometimes dress up at the part. This was high school, of whatever he was going to be talking about, and he made history so interesting for her. When I was in school, I hated history. I thought it was the most dull, boring subject. But I think it goes sometimes by how it's being taught. When you're told, read this chapter and answer the questions, yeah, that's boring. And anyone who teaches like that, you're not teaching anything. You get up and you explain things to people. You know, I guess I need to title this, How to Be a Teacher. No, I'm not really. But I know some of you out there are having to homeschool. If your schools haven't gone back to regular school yet. And you're seeing teaching is not an easy job, okay? It's not for everyone. And I felt so bad for these parents who were going to be thrown into that position of having to teach their kids these subjects they knew nothing about. Let me tell you something. If this had happened and Catherine was in high school and her geometry class or something, it would be like, okay, honey, this is a square, this is a triangle. Oh, I hated geometry. Other things you can kind of figure out by reading, but it's not easy, especially if you have a job that you have to go to. It's kind of hard. But have any of you had stories you remember from when you were a kid? Oh, I remember a teacher. Oh my gosh. And he was a history teacher. I believe I was in 6th grade when this happened. It didn't happen to me. Another student had a piece of chocolate, and this teacher, he was kind of a heavy-set man. He was older, had white hair. If he ever caught you with candy, he'd take it up from you, and he'd eat it right there in front of you. But what was so gross, he picked up some chocolate from one of the kids who had brought some chocolate into the classroom. He put it in his mouth and started eating it and was talking. And when he talks, he spits. So chocolate spit was spewing out of his mouth, and all I could do was think, that is just the most disgusting thing I have seen. It was just gross. I mean, if he had to eat the chocolate, wait till you're finished eating before you speak. You know, don't talk with your mouth full. That was disgusting, especially if you spit when you talk. It was just gross. I just couldn't believe it. But I just sit back and think about some of the things that I can remember when I was in school. But, yeah, when it's your child, it's worse. When something happens to your child, and it very seldom. Those are the only 2 times I can remember that it was something happened that really upset me. Most of the time, things were great. I mean, you can't believe everything your child says, but there are times when you can't help but believe what they've just told you, especially when in 2nd grade when the teacher called. I knew that I think she was probably feeling bad about what she did, so I can just imagine how things went down in the classroom. I can just hear, well, Catherine, you need to just get over it, or something like that. I don't know. But kids are kids. That's just the way it is. And those of you that have had children or have children now, you know what I'm talking about. If you can't deliver on your promise, don't do it. Please don't do it. I mean, as a parent, sometimes that happens because, you know, we're doing things all the time. But in a classroom, you need to be real careful what you do. Oh, this is so pretty. I am just loving this. Loving it. And I have had people ask me, because I'm using glue dots in my, this is my everlasting tip. This is the all-in-one. Sometimes I use the one that go into the tops of the plastic pieces. I love using glue dots in these everlasting tips. And someone asked me, when you use the glue dots, can you use them on the ABs? Well, yes, you can. As you can see, it does not pull the AB coating off, and it sticks to it. It will pick it up. Because sometimes when you are using certain kinds of waxes, the wax needs to be kind of dirty. The pink wax, you need to kind of make it, it needs to be wax you've been using for a while. If you don't have that, then use whatever you're using. I just know I love the glue dots. They're my favorites. I use the micro dots. I think I have them listed in my Amazon store that I put under my videos. But that's where I got it, was from Amazon, the micro dots. And it does say they're permanent, but when these things start getting old and dried out inside this pen, eventually they start working their way out, and then you can just kind of pull it out. I'm hoping, I've got a new setup. I did get a new laptop, and that was one reason I had such a hard time. I had a hard time putting my other WIP and chat up. I could not get things going. Now, I'm doing it a little different. I'm going to see how this works. I'm recording it with my webcam this time to see how it works. Because if that works, then I don't have to worry about turning my camera off and on. I just want to see how good the picture looks. And you'll have to let me know that in the comments if this looked okay and the sound was okay, or if you liked it better with my last WIP and chat, because I did that with my camera. And it just, I have to do extra steps when I use my camera, but that's okay. Of course, like I said, with this new laptop, I have been waiting a year to get a new laptop. My husband had told me last year that I could have maybe get one for Christmas or my birthday. Well, this is actually a Christmas and birthday present for me here. And I needed more memory, RAM memory, and other stuff to do videos. And now I just have to figure out how to do all that. That's the fun part, right? Figuring it out. And I'm always learning something new. So that's why I didn't get too many videos this week done trying to figure this out. And then my internet was going at about, I'm paying for 55 meg of internet at my house. The other day, when I was trying to upload my video, I was getting between 3 and 7 meg, which is not good. And I called them. I called the internet company, and I said, there's something wrong. And he said, well, at our end, everything looks fine. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to upload this video, and it's just not doing what it's supposed to. And he said, well, if I send someone out there and there's nothing wrong, then we'll have to charge you for a call for going out there. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And he said, no. And I'm like, okay, well, can you tell me some things that I can do? Because I'm not paying for somebody to come out here. Shoot, I pay them enough money every month for my internet. So he was very nice and talked to me, and he upped my upload speed to hopefully help upload my videos quicker. Well, that didn't really happen. I don't know. Not for that one. We'll see how this one does. This is a Thursday March the 4th. And we'll see if it gets up tonight or not. If it's not up till Friday, you know I had problems. If it's not up till Saturday, you'll know I had big problems. So that's just the way it goes. Let's see. How long have I been talking? About 30 minutes. Okay. I don't want to overdo myself. I don't want to overdo you having to listen to me chitter chatter. But I don't know. That was on my mind today about my daughter and what happened with her in school. And I'm sure all of you have had stories of things that have happened with your child. And it's hard. When it's your child, it's hard. And as a teacher, we need to have empathy, compassion for those kids. Because it is heartbreaking if you've told them something and you can't deliver. How do you explain that? But everyone, it seemed like everyone else had gotten theirs from the way it sounded, because it sounded like Catherine was the only one that was upset. I don't know. I was teaching school and I didn't get to go to the party. I tried going to like field trips and things. When Catherine would go, I would have to take off from my class to go on field trips. That's what's hard about being a teacher, is when your own child has something, you don't get to go to a lot of those things. So I try to go to field trips when I could. And I always appreciated any parent that would come along and help me on a field trip. Because when you take kids on a field trip, this is what I was doing all the time. Counting heads. I was always afraid of losing one of my students. And I was counting constantly to make sure I didn't lose anyone. And I would pair them up, and I would say, okay, if you do not see your partner, in third grade, I'd tell them, okay, y'all just hold hands. They didn't mind it so much. Well, the boys, maybe they didn't have to hold hands. What I would do is, if I had enough parents, I would partner them up with parents. I always took the worst kids for myself. I was not going to tack that down for a parent to do. I'm talking about, when I say worse, I'm talking about the ones who are maybe liable to take off, run off somewhere, and you can't find them because it's in their mind. They're like, oh, look at that over there, and they're gone, and to look for that. So it was always nice when you had a parent come along, and like I said, I would try to group them into groups of maybe 4 for the parent to handle, and they had to just keep up with 4 kids, and then I would take whatever's left over. I had one year I didn't have any parent volunteer. Yeah, that was fun. When you're having to keep up with 26, 27 kids, when you had 29. I've had over 30 in junior high in a classroom, and in junior high, they don't go on field trips like they do in elementary school. And I don't know if they do field trips as much anymore as they used to or not. Of course, with all that's going on in the world, there aren't any field trips right now, but I'm hoping one day, very soon, everything is going to get back to normal. But we'd take field trips sometimes to the zoo, museums, the NASA Space Center, just a lot of different places. One year we took them to an Indian reservation, because there's one very close to where I live. It's now closed down, and they have a gambling casino there instead. They don't have the Indian dances and stuff that you used to be able to go see, which I kind of miss. I just thought it was kind of neat to see them keep up with some of the customs that they were passed down from generation to generation. Tell you the one thing that I loved so much was the Indian fry bread. Oh my gosh, that was delicious. And sometimes you can find the Indian fry bread tacos, and what they do is they fix like a taco in the fry bread. Oh my gosh, that is so good. I eat that too many times, and I wouldn't be able to, if I was close to something like that, I wouldn't be able to get in my house. They're so good. So delicious the way they bread, and they would show you, they would be making it. You get a fresh loaf when you visit the Indian reservation. Oh, it was just so cool. I miss some of those things that aren't there any longer. But I gotta tell you this before I go. We took, this was when I was teaching junior high, and we had kids. We used to have accelerated reading, and they don't have it any longer. I kind of missed it when they got rid of it. The kids would read a book and then take a test over it. And I always, if the kids pass the test, that would be one of the ways that they could earn a party at the end of the 9 weeks, is getting everyone in the class to meet their goal. And so they worked hard to meet their goal. You know, I tried to make it more interesting, and I'd help them pick out books. I kept different kinds of books in my classroom. So those kids that had met their goal were taken to the zoo. So I got to go on that field trip because my whole class met their goal. They always met their goal. They were awesome. And these were my ESL kids, okay? English as a second language. And I had a paraprofessional that worked with me in my classroom. And she and I were walking around in the zoo, and we were looking at this lion. And the lion was walking around, was getting closer to the fence, because it was just a fence, you know. And of course there was like another barrier before you got to the fence. But this lion was getting closer to the fence, and I told, her name was Estella, I said, Estella, I said, that lion is fixing to turn around. I think he's going to do something. And so I said, back up. When we started backing up, about that time, that lion went to mark his territory right at us. That went shooting. He went flying by, that, you know, wet stuff that comes out, whatever they use to mark their territory. He was going to mark us. I don't know if he thought of us as mates or what. But I had just said it just in time, and we jumped out of the way. I said, can you imagine if that had gotten on us, how we would have smelled the rest of the day? We laughed so much. I wouldn't have been laughing if it had gotten on me, I don't think. But we were laughing so much because we jumped back really quick. And it was just too funny. But I said, yeah, I guess he thought we were going to be his mates. So it was something I'll never forget, and I bet she doesn't either. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that little story there, and hopefully I'll get to read another story to you, and I will, gosh, I'm almost done with this. I'll finish putting down these. If I still have any left when I read my story, I will finish doing that, and you can see how this turned out. So, I'm going to let you go for now. You have a blessed, wonderful day. Love you guys. God bless. Bye. Okay, well, I was going to do that. There we are. Okay, bye.